Hi there, and welcome back to this channel if you have been here before, or welcome if you are new. I'm Sándor, and I'm here to talk about my eating disorder recovery and anything else that's related to the topic. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional or a therapist. I only talk about my recovery because I believe it can be helpful to hear that other people went through the same stuff you are going through and they came out the other end. Keep in mind that these are just my opinions and experiences. Nothing I say is meant to be prescriptive. Some of the things that work for me could work for you as well, but recovery takes some experimentation and you need to be in charge of that. So why would you want to know what this random weirdo from YouTube eats in a day? I'm not a dietitian and I don't have any relevant degrees that would allow me to talk about this topic publicly in a safe and ethical way. And even if I had the relevant qualifications and I were any kind of authority on nutrition, I know nothing about your individual circumstances. So it wouldn't be ethical for me to give you any specific dietary advice, and possibly it wouldn't be safe for you to try to emulate the way I eat. I think if you are a person who is recovering from an eating disorder and actively seeking out content such as what I eat in a day videos, there are a couple of things that you should ask yourself, or a couple of things that you should become aware of regarding what motivates you to consume this type of content. These type of videos originate from fitness and diet culture. And if there is one thing that you need to deconstruct when you are working on your recovery and working on healing your relationship with food and your body, that is all those ingrained harmful messages that fitness and diet culture bombards you with on the daily. Let's be honest, this type of content will usually get more views if it's created by people who live in socially accepted or even celebrated bodies, and if they show enough of that body in the thumbnail or in the video. And the reason for this is because this type of prepackaged content sends the message of eat like this, exercise like this, and you will look like this. You know, whether the creator explicitly says out loud this message or they just try to imply it, or even if they don't even try to, consciously imply it, this message is there. And whether it's intentional or not, I think this is false advertising because you don't have that person's genetics, you don't have that person's resources, and you certainly don't live that person's lifestyle. So even if you eat and move like that person, you will never look like that person. I understand, and I know this from my personal experience, that there's a lot of uncertainty when you are recovering from an eating disorder and when your body is going through these changes that involve fluctuation in your weight and not in the directions that your eating disordered brain would like it to go, and that is scary and uncomfortable. You inevitably end up looking for some guidance, and the disordered part of your brain will probably tell you to seek out advice from people who live in a socially accepted or celebrated body. But if you want to recover fully, this guidance should not come from people who work in the diet or fitness industries or people who have disordered relationship with food and their body. Because both of these groups are notorious for perpetuating diet myths and half-truths when it comes to nutrition, so you definitely don't want to sit in this echo chamber that is populated by these messages. So please seek out reliable sources that were put together by qualified professionals and educate yourself on nutrition using those sources. If you need to, talk to a dietitian instead of an unqualified social media influencer or someone who is in the middle of sorting through their disordered relationship with food. And I'm trying to highlight this because most of these creators that put out what I eat in a day videos or similar type of content are not trained nutritionists or dietitians. They can give you their personal anecdotes or opinions on diet, nutrition, and movement, but following dietary advice from these sources can lead to nutritional deficiencies and a host of other health problems. Another potential issue with this type of content is rooted in the fact that recovery is not just about healing your relationship with food and your body. What I eat in a day recovery content sends the message that recovering from an eating disorder is just about food and looks. I think there is nothing wrong with showing that you can interact with food freely or showing that you, for example, conquer the fear food, but trying to show your overall progress in recovery using food paints an incomplete and false picture. I think there's a huge difference between posting about a particularly good meal or sharing a whole day of eating, because the latter will let people calculate how many calories you had in that day in total, which is counterproductive for recovery anyways, and it can trigger other people. I found that once you have healed your relationship with food, food won't be that relevant at all. Sure, food can be a way to celebrate, to connect to others, to engage with other cultures, and it's also a necessity since we use food as fuel. But if you have a healthy relationship with food, most of the time food will be in the background and you won't be thinking about it. You certainly won't be obsessing about it. You probably won't even find these what I eat in a day videos relevant or interesting. I certainly lost interest in them as I was making progress in my own recovery, and I heard others echo this sentiment. And I think it makes sense, losing interest in this type of content, because when you are properly feeding yourself all of the time or most of the time, basically your brain no longer has to tell you all the time to go and seek out food, otherwise you are going to starve to death. And on top of that, you have come to understand that you should not compare yourself to random strangers on the internet or anyone else. Comparing yourself to others is something that your ED loves to do, so you will have to work through that as well. An important part of recovery is accepting your natural body size and shape and learning how to listen to your own body's internal signals and honoring these signals. Comparing yourself to someone on the internet or believing that you can look like someone else on the internet just by copying them or emulating their lifestyle habit doesn't make any sense. If you try to emulate someone else who has a different lifestyle, who has different physical activity levels, who is equipped with a different type of metabolism, that can potentially cause you to override your body's hunger and fullness cues. Those hunger and fullness cues that you have to learn to listen to in your recovery. You don't have that person's genetics. You can't possibly know how they eat all of the time, not just in that day that they published on social media. You can't possibly know how much they move, what kind of health conditions do they have, and what kind of, let's say, supplements they take to look the way they look. What I'm trying to say is social media content is curated. I curate what I put out there because on one hand, I try to be responsible, I try to be thoughtful and helpful to other people, and I try to not trigger other people intentionally. But there are also parts of this video that I don't want you to see. I don't want you to see me cursing when technology doesn't work the way I expect it to work. I think that every single person who puts out content has some kind of agenda. And I'm not trying to say that we are here to manipulate you and take advantage of you, but as soon as the camera starts rolling, you start acting differently and you start thinking about the message that you are putting out there. You start thinking about whether that is on brand for you or not. What you see in social media is polished to some extent. You can't see what the other person is doing when they are not on camera, and I'm pretty sure that whenever someone posts what I eat in a day video, they want to present a specific version of themselves. They want to present the best version of themselves, and that itself, that intention behind the content will change how they interact with food that day. Regardless of the way that creator eats in that day, if you compare your diet to those shown in these types of videos, you may feel that your diet is inadequate, which can lead to feelings of guilt and shame about your food choices. In my experience, those feelings can be really effective ED fuel. In addition to that, if you compare your body to the socially accepted or celebrated bodies that you can see in these videos, that will likely have a negative impact on your own body image, which is, again, counterproductive for your own recovery. To interact with what I eat in a day videos, I think you should consider not only the creator's credentials, their potential biases or agendas, but your own motivations as well. I think it's up to us to be conscientious consumers and evaluate any information that we find in these what I eat in a day videos or any other type of online content. Exploring for yourself how societal norms around food Body image and beauty standards contribute to the popularity of what I eat in a day videos can also give you a degree of deeper understanding of why such content resonates with you and what kind of implications this can have for your mental and physical health. So I guess the take-home message is that you should rather seek advice from qualified healthcare professionals when making decisions about diet and nutrition, especially when you are recovering from an eating disorder. Okay, I think that's it for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and subscribe or like the video if you plan to come back. As always, I hope you will have a great day, or at least a reasonable one if you are going through something difficult right now.